Yo, what's up, guys? It's David Benavidez. I have my upcoming fight with David Lemieux. I feel like first things first, I got to take care of my business, but I feel like I get past David Lemieux. But the next best fight, for me, I feel like it's Boo Andrade. So I see Andrade's coming up to 168. So let's make it happen, Eddie.
What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. So we just heard there from your man's David Benavidez airing out Demetrious Poo Poo Andrade. Now listen, Benavidez says that he's got David LeBum up next. David Lemieux, aka David LeBum. He's fighting next. God knows why. In my opinion, to be fair to Andrade, Andrade was actually the first one about 3 years ago to tell everyone, listen, 160, 168ers, us man need to get together and start creating value for the pay-per-view king Canelo Alvarez. Yeah? Don't forget that, people. And I actually think out of everyone, Demetrious Andrade deserves the Alvarez shot the most. He's the one who tried to make the Billy Joe Saunders fight. Yeah? Demetrious Andrade been saying, begging people, please, let's fight. Let's give Alvarez something to be interested about. Let's not just hang around fighting bums like David Lemieux. I'm sure there's some David Lemieux fans or some Billy Joe Saunders fans. 100%. Listen, the way Billy Joe Saunders fans get gassed over David Lemieux just because that's his best win. David Lemieux's a bum. Golovkin knocked him out of a jab. And yeah, you can rant and rave about Golovkin. Golovkin's alright, yeah? David Lemieux, bum. Oops. And your man Billy Joe couldn't even do nothing with him. Wait a minute. How many times did Billy Joe Saunders knock down David LeBum? None. So you got your man Golovkin knocking him out of a jab in round 7, relatively early in the fight, and your man Billy Joe can't even put him down. And you're ranting and raving about how great the performance was. And the worst thing is, Billy Joe Saunders fought him 5 years ago. What is David Benavidez doing fighting David Lemieux? David Lemieux, cow-looking ass, cow-sounding ass. What's he doing fighting him now? And I'm just hoping that Benavidez ain't capping. Because what happens often, yeah, is that these guys, they realise they're in a bum fight that no one cares about. And they think, ooh, rather than sell this bum fight, I'll lead the public on. I'll give the public something to cross their fingers for. I see it all the time, yeah? All the time. I'm pretty sure Ryan Garcia's done it before. Ryan Garcia will have a fight booked with some bum, and all you hear him talking about is I'm going to fight Tank next. Oh, I want Tank. Let's do the contract. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the word? Catfishing, or it's stringing you along. Reeling the fans in. Even though you know you got a bum fight booked. Rather than book a real fight to start with, aka, my question is, why didn't Benavidez book Demetrious Poo Poo Andrade for this fight? Oops. Do you understand? They're both on this, they're not on the same network, but Eddie Hearn, he desperate to get this kind of fight done for Demetrious Poo Poo Andrade. 100%. He happy to do it on DAZN or on PBC. He's been wanting to do that. Demetrious Andrade himself has been wanting to fight on the PBC against some big dogs. He's the first, like I said, he's the first guy to say, I want to fight the names. Demetrious Andrade was begging Charlo, he was begging Billy Joe Saunders, he was begging Benavidez as well, recently. And Benavidez, I remember 100%, your man Demetrious Poo Poo Andrade was calling out Benavidez for the last 6 months. And Benavidez, oh man, we on different sides of the street and apples, it's a, what? And now all of a sudden you got another fight book no one cares about, you want to be mentioning names. I just hope that, number one, Eddie Hearn needs to get on this, and Eddie Hearn needs to put his foot on Benavidez's neck. Don't let Benavidez fight this bum, David Lemieux, yeah? Don't let him fight the cow-sounding ass, and then let him sneak off. I know what's going to happen, 100%. After the fight, yeah, you won't hear nothing about it. Benavidez won't invite Poo Poo Andrade to the ring. He'll just, oh man, we going in a different direction. I don't need no one. I'm the champion. That's what you'll hear after the fight. You won't hear nothing about Andrade. Before the fight, because he knows it's a shit fight, he'll be, oh yeah, I want to fight Andrade. I want to fight Canelo. I want to do this. I want to do that. After the fight, well, tell I, no. I do believe Benavidez wants to fight Canelo. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to win 4 belts? Who doesn't want to win $20 million for free? Of course he does. But does Benavidez want to fight real challenges? I'll believe it when I see it, because guess what? Look at his resume. The resume don't lie. And them fights have been there. Yeah, Benavidez has been on paper, not being funny. Look at Plant. Plant fought when? Can't remember. Either way, Plant fought 4, 5, 6 months ago. Okay, well, where's that fight at? Oops, yeah? Why is Benavidez booking to fight this bum, David LeBum? Why is that happening? Why is David Benavidez fighting scrubs from 10 years ago? Lemieux was average 10 years ago. And you're meant to be some big hard ass. Why has it, as far as I'm aware, Andrade doesn't have any big fights booked? Yeah? So what are you doing, is the question. Why weren't you petitioning for that fight against Andrade when you both didn't have fights? I don't get that at all. All of a sudden now, you want to be talking about how, oh, I got this other fight first. What? Doesn't make no sense to me, I'm sorry. And it seems to be, and to be fair, it's not just Benavidez, yeah, but it seems to be, for me, yeah, every time I've seen it, not just Benavidez, every fighter, or every scary fighter who's trying to be smart about things. I remember years ago, Wilder used to do the same thing. Whenever AJ had a fight booked, oh man, I want AJ, and yeah. Or whenever Wilder has a fight booked, or whenever AJ had a fight booked, Wilder would be calling someone out. Then the minute Wilder's free, or the minute AJ's free, Wilder nowhere to be found. Or Wilder saying things like, oh man, I'm my own boss, and champ kings don't chase peasants. That's what he was saying, 100%. It pissed me off. They think we're stupid, and don't get me wrong, most fans are stupid. I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of David Benavidez fans are like, oh yeah, look, he's the champ. He won everyone. Well, wait a minute, no. Wanting everyone means you actually send contracts with everyone. Don't get me wrong. If Benavidez had been, I go based on the facts, yeah. If there was a paper trail of Benavidez over the years trying to make big fights, but they're not happening, I'd give him credit. For example, I give Demetrious Poo Andrade credit because he's got a resume of trying to make big fights. He tried to fight Billy Joe. He tried to fight all their man Benavidez and Charlo. He's been trying to make them fights. Don't forget, people. Eddie Hearn's been sending offers to Jamal Charlo and all them ones trying to get a big fight for Andrade. So I rate him, and that's why I think really he deserves out of everyone. Even though his resume, it's not his fault. Demetrious Andrade's resume isn't the way it is because of a lack of ambition or because he's trying to be political like everyone else. Every other opponent of Alvarez has been political. Golovkin, political. Especially now. Golovkin, political. Billy Joe, political. I mean, who's Billy Joe beat? Political. Plant, political. Benavidez, political. Charlo, political. Not one of them really has gone out of their way to make a decent fight against one of their peers. The only one is Andrade. So I do find it, even though Alvarez is my favourite fighter, I do find it does irk me a bit that he'll fight everyone else, but I don't know why he doesn't like Andrade for. I don't get that. I kind of scratch my head and think, why don't he want to fight Andrade? Why not? Of everyone, he's actually tried to fight decent people. He tried to fight Billy Joe before you. He tried to send offers to other people like Charlo. It's not his fault. But anyway, I digress. The bottom line is, man, Benavidez, keep that same energy. Because that fight, if you follow through, I'll give you credit. But so far, you say one thing. So far, David Benavidez is looking like your man's, what's his name? Ryan Garcia. Just woofing. And what I don't get is every time, Benavidez has been on the scene for 3 years. Oh, he's been woofing ever since. How can you, it's been 3 years later now. And what big names has he locked down? I don't get it. I'm baffled. I don't understand what you've been doing if you want these big fights. Why is David LeBum up next if you want all these big fights? I don't get that at all. I'm sorry. The way David Benavidez carries on is like he's a hard-ass champion, but you don't act like a champion because you're fighting people who bums fight, bottom line. You're not fighting a champion roster. You're not fighting a champion resume, and that's what it is. Now, in terms of thinking about the wider implications of this, well, what do we know? And that's another thing that gets me angry, is the fact that we know now that Alvarez has an offer for Benavidez and Charlo. So I'm thinking to myself, is that more evidence that Benavidez is just capping? Does Benavidez know, well, there's a good chance I'm going to get the Alvarez fight anyway, so now I know I'm getting that, I might as well woof and make out I'm hard, and make out I want other challenges, when really I know there's a good chance I'm going straight into the Alvarez fight. Yeah? Because like I said, when your man Benavidez doesn't have any plans booked, he ain't saying nothing, is he? Let's call a spade a spade. Yeah? Let's call a spade a spade. I remember seeing Benavidez on Mike Tyson's show when he didn't have a fight. Where was trying to make the Andrade fight then? I don't get that. When you're free, then that's when you're supposed to make big fights. Not, well, I've got a fight booked. Well, I've got Alvarez coming up next probably. So now I'm going to woof about Andrade. Now I'm going to woof about fighting my peers. No, I'm sorry. I don't rate that at all. That's a scary ass move. So so in a way, on that basis, I actually hope now the Charlo and Benavidez fight falls through. Because I want to put the pressure on Benavidez. It's about time. And I think Alvarez needs to do the same. Alvarez needs to reach out and touch Benavidez and tell him, listen, and you, Charlo, if you want this fight, you need to fight each other. Benavidez need to fight Charlo. Benavidez need to fight Plant. Benavidez need to fight Andrade. At least one of them combinations need to happen if you want this fight. Simple as that. Alvarez, from now on, in my opinion, needs to make a rule. The Alvarez rule. I will not fight anyone who's fought no one. Bottom line, I'll only ever fight people who have fought at least one of their peers. That's how it needs to be. Because right now everyone just sits around, pretty much everyone on Alvarez's resume has sat around waiting for the call. That's not right. I'm sorry. That doesn't encourage the best outcome for the sport. And it doesn't create the best entertainment for us. Imagine, if there was a man out there now, imagine, for example, that Andrade had beat Billy Joe 3 years ago. That fight was 2018, don't forget. So let's assume, for example, Andrade had beat Billy Joe 4 years ago, and then he fought Charlo 2 years later, because that fight was supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? So let's say, for example, Andrade had beat Billy Joe in 2018, 2017, and then beat Charlo in 2019, and then beat Benavidez in 2021. Imagine that now. Imagine having that kind of caliber of character who's beat all them people, and then we're looking for the Alvarez versus Andrade fight. That there would be proper nail biting stuff, wouldn't it? Instead, we've got a bunch of random dudes who'd never beat no one going into their final supper with the boss. It don't make no sense. Yeah, it's like these cats are skipping from. There's a reason they call it levels to the game. At the moment, people are skipping from level 1 to the big bad boss. Alvarez, no doubt, is the big bad boss. You don't skip from David LeBum to the big bad boss. That's how it don't go. I don't understand how people don't get that. That's not how it's supposed to go, and it shows you their mentality of they don't expect to beat Alvarez. Because someone who expects to beat Alvarez would know, you know what, I can't go from David LeBum to Alvarez. That's not progression. People who are serious about beating Alvarez would know, you know what, if I'm going to be serious about beating Alvarez, I'm at least going to have to beat some of these lower level dons, like Billy Joe, like Andrade, like Charlo. If I can't make easy work of them, I've got no shot. That's what they should be thinking, but they don't. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders shit himself about Andrade and ran off and went to hide somewhere and fight some bum somewhere. 100%. So if all you man fix up, no doubt.